release of that film. And he's recorded audio commentary tracks for several DVDs, including Bud Bedeker's Ride Lonesome, a really good audio commentary track, Jeremy. He's also the author of the brand new book, the TCM book, The Essentials, 52 Must-See Movies and Why They Matter, which is on sale at the TCM Boutique. And you can also pick it up at the book signing, which Jeremy will be at today from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. in the Roosevelt lobby. Ladies and gentlemen, Jeremy Arnold.
Thank you very much. I can tell you that even though I've written books and done all the things that Scott just said so nicely, I am a fan like you, and I'm as excited as you are to see a world premiere restoration of Shanghai Express on a nice big screen with a nice big friendly audience. The 9 a.m. shows bring out the diehards. I got 5 hours of sleep last night. I don't know about you, but it's worth it. As my friend Cindy said, Marlene Dietrich will get me there. I'm even more thrilled that we have as a very special guest the son of the director of Shanghai Express, Joseph von Sternberg. Please join me welcoming Nicholas von Sternberg. Well, Nick, we have 10 minutes and we could talk for 2 hours about your father and this movie. I think, first of all, it'd be interesting to talk a little bit about his background because I think many people assume from his name and from his first film with Marlene Dietrich, The Blue Angel, that he started in the German film industry and then came to America, but that's not quite true, is it?
No, he came here when he was 7 years old, and he came through McAllen. And he came from a very poor family. And they left the United States for various reasons. And then he came back when he was 11 years old. And he was in the U.S. Army in World War I as a Signal Corps cameraman. And he made training films there, and he worked with Louis Milestone and Henry Hathaway, and they watched dailies together and stuff.
I see. And then eventually he's actually started his filmmaking career in Hollywood, not in Germany, right?
Yes, he came to Hollywood in 1921, and he made his first film with his own, with the very first independent film. It's called The Salvation Hunters, and he made that in 1924. Summon film.
And isn't it true that around that time he had the word Von added to his name?
It was added in 1921. Joe Sternberg, that Elliot Dexter, who came.
Microphone.
Yeah. Wait a minute, microphone. Over here.
Elliot Dexter, who was making a film called Children of Divorce, added the Von. He wanted to Germanicize a lot of the names. And it took a very negative reaction in Variety. And my dad liked that it was negative. He wanted it to be hated. And so he kept the Von. Again, he changed the Joe to Joseph.
So, is this working? Okay. He became a major director with the film Underworld, which is seen as the first true precursor to film noir. It was made in 1927. And he did go to Germany to make The Blue Angel in 1929, 1930. And that's when he first met Marlene Dietrich. And could you tell us what happened?
Well, he saw Marlene Dietrich in a play, leaning up against the wall. And she didn't have a very big part. She'd been in a few German films before that, but they were very unsuccessful. And he immediately saw that she would be perfect to play Lola Lola. And he went back and tried to convince Emil Jannings, who was the star of Blue Angel, and Eric Palmer, who was the producer of the Blue Angel, to use her as an actress. And they really tried to talk him out of it. And as a matter of fact, they refused to use her. And my father had to leave. He pretended to leave Berlin, and they caught him just in time, and then rest is history, you know.
So he brought her back, and they both signed at Paramount, and they made 6 more films together, and Shanghai Express was the 4th that they made overall, starting with The Blue Angel. And this was the most commercially successful, I believe, of all of them. I think it pulled in $3 million in earnings during the Depression. It was huge. What is it, do you think, that made the collaboration between your father and Marlene Dietrich so successful and so appealing to audiences?
Well, Marlene did everything that my father asked her to do, and then she also added to it. She was the perfect person to use in front of the camera for him. She used to stand in for herself and for lighting, and she just added so much to what he envisioned that she was perfect for him.
There are certainly other extremely glamorous movie stars, actresses in Hollywood history, but certainly no one is more glamorous than Marlene Dietrich in a movie like Shanghai Express. It's a movie that it really has not much of a plot. It's not a story-driven movie. How do you make a movie so compelling and so involving based on something other than a surface narrative to string you along? It's the glamour. How do you make that the thing that keeps the audience so interested?
Well, Shanghai Express was a very visual film. It was really like a silent film with a little bit of sound at it. The picture was told visually, and my father was an artist. He liked to paint and stuff, and he also sculpted. And film was a perfect medium for him to create a work of art in. And he liked to, it was very complex with the camera. You know, he had different planes of focus, foreground, middle ground, and background. And that was much more complicated than other directors attempted at that time. And he had wonderful art direction in the film. Hans Stryer was the art director. Peter Balbush did some of the sets also. And, you know, it was very, very complex.
So when we see shots framed through netting and gauze and smoke covering so much of the frame, is that your father's? Is that your father? Is it the art director who?
Well, it was all my dad's work, and he liked to, when he did the lighting, he'd light through a large net over the set, and he'd burn out sections so that part of the light would come through, part of it would be diffused by the net. And he'd also have nets in front of the lens, so the part that was meant to be clear, which would be like Dietrich, for instance, would be perfectly clear, and then around her would be diffused. That's how he used nets. And there were each shot was the nets were set just for that shot, and they'd be thrown away after that.
It's interesting because it's as if he's painting the image with those tools, with those elements, but with the end of creating certain emotions in the audience that come from those visuals rather than from the story. Is that a
Yes,
way of saying?
and he liked to light her. She'd be very bright in the middle of the scene. She'd be the brightest part of the scene.
Now, as visual and pictorial as your father was, this movie also has a world-class cinematographer, Lee Garms, one of the greats. How did they work together if your father was so involved with this side of things?
Well, Lee Garms was one of the cameramen my dad used. He shot 4 films with Lee Garms. Lee Garms actually told a friend of mine that he was really intimidated by my father when he walked into the set with a viewing glass. This is the viewing glass that he used. He liked to look through it to judge the contrast.
So did Lee Garms not take too kindly to?
He was intimidated by it.
And didn't you also tell me that your father tended to work very late into the night? He didn't really care about keeping the crew there, and he earned a particular nickname for that?
He was known as Midnight Joe.
So I guess the days before guilds and unions dictated working hours.
Just starting then.
And he was also, you were talking to me about how exacting he was, shooting many, many takes of the most simple type of shot.
Yeah, I know that he did one shot in Morocco with 90 takes.
Wow.
And he did a lot of takes. He'd be, he'd keep the crew there all night. He'd work into the night with multiple takes, and he'd just pick one that he liked. And he'd had a particular, he'd go for something with the actors, and he'd find it in one take, and then he'd use that take.
Well, finally, because we have to wrap up in a moment, I want to ask you about Marlene Dietrich. We could talk for hours about the relationship that she had with your father, which blurred many lines. But I understand that you grew up, you knew Marlene Dietrich as a child.
Yeah, I did know her, and she was wonderful to me. I used to sit on her lap when I was growing up.
Well, I think that's a great memory. And I hope you will all enjoy Shanghai Express. Thank you.